Well, cricket was always in my blood. And I can remember my father making me my first mini cricket bat out of a plank of wood.
Yeah.
And I remember my parents used to take me to Lord's on the odd occasion, which was lovely. I can remember Alan Moss tearing in from the pavilion end at Lord's. That takes me back. And then, of course, there was Peter Clapham, who used to live next door but one. And so I got associated with Greyshot. I used to wander down to the ground. What age I would have been, about 9 or 10, I suppose. And I used to change the numbers on the board, you know.
Yeah.
And anyway, I obviously passed that test because they then made me first 11 scorer. So I did that for a while. And then obviously eventually went through the youth and into the seconds and the firsts. And there's the story.
1964, age 13. I always loved the game. But I'd knock at the door and my uncle's brother turned up, who played for the first at Greyshot, and he asked if I would be interested in scoring for the club, for the first team. So I'd never scored before, I hadn't got a clue on how it was done, but anyway I said yes. And that's how it started. He used to pick me up at home, and we used to go for the day, obviously. And then after it was all finished, he used to smuggle me into a pub somewhere, stuck me in the corner with half a pint of shandy or cider, and then took me back home that evening.
I was probably about 14 or so, I guess, when I started to play for Greyshot. Probably through Peter Clapham, who had a relative who lived sort of almost next door to where we lived.
I played for Greyshot mainly, but I had a few seasons at Hazelmere. I played a few games for Hindhead, mainly in their cricket weeks. Cricket weeks were very common in those days, and that was great. They used to have some good sides there. And I also played a few games for a team called Hampshire Renegades. I don't think they exist anymore, but they used to have one of the officers' grounds at Borden. And I used to go down there on the odd occasion and play on a Sunday.
Greyshot Cricket Club, all my life. So joined when I was 13, and here we are. So I'm 70 this year. So first game was at the Bourne, and to get to the school box, you had to go through the home dressing room, up a vertical ladder, and into the hayloft. And if you look at the pavilion from the ground, it's on the left-hand side at the top. It's like an apex roof, and that was the hayloft, and that's where you scored.
The kit was shared. Not everybody had their own kit at all. There was one big bag of kit, included the team box, which you used to share. And, it was one happy family, really.
And what was...
Well, you had a choice of 2 or 3 bats, but it wasn't particularly very good, I don't think. But it's what you were used to.
And who got the best bat?
Well, presumably the first person who opened, you know. If you were batting down the order a bit, you got what was left over.
You used to have club kit
Yes.
in those days, so all you needed to bother with was your whites, basically, and your cricket boots. Although I remember one of these 2 bags of kit actually had a pair of boots in. So anybody who didn't bring their boots, there was always a pair in there.
Wow.
Yeah. And of course you had bats. Nobody bought their own bat in those days. Nobody bought their own pads.
Or was there a special one that everyone wanted?
Well, there was always a special bat that I had my eye on, and Stuart Spooner, who used to play in the ones, when I played in the ones as well, and he quite fancied that bat as well. So we were both vying to get highest in the order so we could get this special bat. But you can imagine, towards the end of the season, bats were in a pretty rough state. Some of them, the handles had gone. you'd maybe blocked a Yorker or something, so the bit out of the bottom or cracked. The pads, the pads were all buckles, of course, in those days. So buckles came off
Yeah.
You needed sewing back on.
Did you have the magic gloves with the pimples on and the?
Oh gosh, yeah. In fact, there were more of those than there were the sausage ones in those days. And the sausage ones, they're not like a pair of gloves that you can just put on. You had the thumb that was attached to a piece of elastic, and so you had to pull the thumb right round your wrist until it eventually was able to slot on and feel fairly secure. But the gloves that you're talking about, the green sort of rubbery spikes.
Yes, it.
I mean, they were next to useless. You take a blow on the fingers and it was almost as though you needn't bother wearing them, really.
We started the game, and Ken Bullock, West Indian guy, and Sid Hibbert was another West Indian guy. Both played for Greyshot. Anyway, Mr. Bullock was scoring really well. He was a good batsman and wicket keeper. And I sort of looked out of the score box, out of the hay loft, and called down below, "Mr. Bullock's on 49." And Jeff Tribe, who was the skipper, he looked up at me and went, "Shh." And the very next ball, you can guess it, he was out. And the look I got from down below, looking back up at me, so I was in deep stuck.
It was so exciting, really, because the team sheet used to be put up in Harry Murphy's shop. So Wednesdays, Thursdays, I'd cycle up to the village and have a look in the window to see if my name was on the list or even reserve. And then after that, it moved to Graham Tickner's shop, and the team list used to go up there. And it was quite exciting, it was exciting because if you were in the team, that was quite something. It's not like today when there are so many other different things to do.
And the two big tables then, so home and away, and that was it. Just two big tables with everybody sitting down. And of course we were late getting there, so there was only one space for me, and that was sitting in between Ken Bullock and Sid Hibbert, two large West Indian guys. Now I was only 13, I'd never seen, this is 64, I hadn't seen sort of West Indian guys really, and to be sitting next to these two, and they made me feel sort of like so small. You come and sit here, boy, So that was that was the start of my association with Greyshot. But they were lovely people, Ken and Sid, and they were fantastic dancers. In the dinner dances we used to have up at the Royal Huts Hotel, they were fantastic dancers, really, really good, and lovely people.
And that was it.